This video is about using a generic outcomes model to implement similar programs in a number of different countries, districts, organizational or sector units. An outcomes model is simply a visual model which lets you describe all of the steps that you need to take in order to achieve high-level outcomes. The ones we use for this work are modeled in DoView outcomes and evaluation software. And you can see the one I've got here, which I'll be using as an example, which is a maternal health program. The idea being that this program could be run in a number of different countries based on this same model. The way these models works, I have here an overview of the model, and the models work from bottom to top. At the top we have the objective of the program in any country, which is alive and healthy mothers. And how we're going to get that is the next box down, skilled birth attendants working effectively. How are we going to get that? On the next line of boxes, appropriate community participation, good connection with primary health system, sufficient number of birth attendants educated, sufficient country level policy, and lastly there's one there about international coordination. In the case of each of these parts of the model, we can build models as large as we like, and you can see that we can drill down, which is what I'm doing here, to another model, again working from bottom to top. It's about alive and healthy mothers. How are we going to get that? By mothers being well prepared for birth, mothers able to get their birth attendants when they need them, mothers confident in their birth attendants, mothers see advantages of having a birth attendant, families see advantages, mothers know where to get a birth attendant, and mothers able to afford one. And so we could drill down under all of those boxes, and I could show you more detail. What we're trying to do here is to have a more effective way of sharing best practice, rather than every country or district having to develop from scratch its own model of what it's trying to do in a program around, for instance, maternal health. We build the generic or common version of the model, and then we allow and encourage countries to use the model to implement it in different places. So how does that all work? Well, first step in this is that these models have to be drawn in a certain way so they can be fit for purpose for using them in this way. And we do that by building them following a set of what are called the 13 tips for building outcomes models, and these tips are based on a set of standards. You'll find the references to them in the resource page at the end of this video. Once we've built the model, and it can be as large as we like, as you can see, because I've shown you we can drill down underneath, and if we're building it in DoView outcomes software, we're able to quickly construct these models with a group of experts or stakeholders. Once we've done that, we then turn them into a web page model by using that instruction there. This is what a web page model looks like. Now see, I'm in now an Internet Explorer, and I'm looking at the model on the web, which was created by DoView, and there's various things I want to show you here. Firstly, I can look through the web page model just like I did through the DoView version of the model. I'm going here to the main page, and you can see I can click through that so I can look all the way through my structured model. The most important thing I want to do for our purposes here is to show you how each country can get hold of the model which they're going to use. They can either download a printable PDF version of this model by clicking here, or they can download a DoView file of this model. If they take the PDF version, that's just a normal PDF of the model, which they could then take and they could amend by hand. But if they want to work electronically, they download the DoView file of this model. So I'm clicking there to say download the model, and I'm clicking here download a copy of this model's original DoView file, and that will then allow that model to be opened on my machine if I just click here a few times. And so what we are imagining in our scenario here is that countries all around the world could take this model, which they've found on the web, which has been distributed from a central point. an international organisation, for instance. And here that model is now opening up inside my copy of DoView on my computer. So this means that within seconds anyone anywhere in the world can get hold of this model to start working on it. So say we are in a country that wants to implement this maternal health program. Now that they have the model, they simply start working with it. And so the first thing they might do is would go to the overview, and they might decide here this connection with the primary health system. We'll just have a wee look at that. Now there may be an issue, a particular issue in this country in regard to the primary health care system, which needs to be included in here in the model, and that may be something about the connection between, we'll say connection between the public and private health care provision, which is something they want to add to the model because it's important. So we would put there something like good connection between public and private health care provision, and I'm just we could change it to the same colour. So you can see how we can, the country can in this case, change the model in any way it wants, so it represents what's happening in the country. So that's the first step, really getting hold of this model and starting to play around with it to make it work for the particular country which we are in. The next stage in working with my model is an optional stage. If I have the information, I can start mapping projects which we're currently doing in the country onto the model. So here I'm putting in a project which I'm calling the Maternal Health Clinical Services Project. And this is a project, and I'll put a little P in front of the box there to indicate it's a project. It's a project which is looking at maternal health clinical services. And the purpose of this project, or the step or outcome it should be focused on, is that birth attendants have sufficient access to appropriate clinical services. So you can see when I click on that, there's both the line, but also it shows the DoView icon, which shows that that is the step or outcome for which that project is being focused. I've done this for a number of projects here, and as I click on them, you can see the Southern District Birth Attendant Project is focusing on birth attendants working in the right location, fully and appropriately utilised, and good connections with the primary health system. This is illustrated by the DoView icon in each case, and if I click on one of those, it will show one of the steps. It will show which projects contribute to that. In this case, it's these two projects contributing to this step within the model. I can also do a right mouse click and find the projects which cause this, it's believed, cause this step to occur, the connection with the primary health care system of these two projects here. So I've now modelled my projects, and what I'm going to do now is just make a little note to myself here, putting in numbers of the number of projects contributing to each outcome, and I've got that made up on this page here. So what I can rapidly do now in overviewing this is to see the emphasis of our current projects. There's two here, one there, and there's actually none in regard to this step, for instance. So I can use this to overview where our current focus is at the moment in regard to achieving steps and outcomes within the model. In part 2, I'm going to move on to how, in the video part 2, how to use the model to identify problems and look at the future priority for focus in regard to our work on maternal health in a country.